Good to be back. I know last time when we got together, I was talking a little bit about prayer and meditation. So, I've been reading that book. So I want to kind of also continue on that. I feel it's good to share, you know. So I was reading, a chapter on the book, and this is still under the section on prayer. And I think it's beloved Jesus started speaking. And he goes, Blessed ones, it is unnecessary for you to strain or to struggle in order to achieve communion with God. He is not far from you and as near as a heartbeat or a thought. He can flood you with a surge of renewing strength. So it reminded me of what I talked about the last time about meditation and listening to the heartbeat. And you know, this is how close we are to God is, he is within us. So, reading that here, I'm understanding that I don't need to struggle in order to establish that communion and establish that connection. Even as much as just, quieting or stilling the mind and listening to the inner, workings of the heart, it allows me to also, try to draw closer to God. It went on to say that the extroversion of human thought and its expenditure upon myra trivia through the day take you away from the strength of your source because your energy is then depleted and its levels have fallen. You do need to renovate your consciousness, which has passed through the turmoil of a busy day. And as I was reflecting on that, I know we all in this day and age, everybody's, pretty busy. There's so much going on, and sometimes we don't even think about how much of a strain or a drain on the energy of, maybe different thoughts, whether they are discordant, whether they are thoughts of issues with family or issues with, colleagues or, things that are going on in the economy or things that are going on in general in life, that even those thoughts can actually drain us as it pulls us away from the strength of our source, which is God. It cannot actually drain our energy. And I do find myself every once in a while, I get pulled away into these thoughts of, maybe, the outer things that are going on, within my own immediate life. And I find out that sometimes I find myself I'm drained of energy by the end of the day. I was like, where did all my energy go to? And when I start to think about it, sometimes it's also the turmoil of the thinking and the busy day and all of that. So, uh, and the next paragraph that he mentioned, he says, well, how frequently I found during my own mission that going up into the mountain to pray, getting away from the madding crowd, or curling up in one end of a ship, I was able to renew my strength, excuse me, and perform a greater ministry of service and healing. So uh, I reflected on this as well, and I could understand that, during the day, I have to consciously make the effort to break away from what is going on and take a break. What I've started to do is I try to set up an alarm, an alarm on my phone to remind me to take a break, meditate, and go within and try to connect, that way. And it's easy for us to get lost in what is going on throughout the day that, it's difficult for one to try to do this. So it says, um, some of you are aware of the fact that the prince of this world will often create division in your mind by arranging two or more control points that clamor for your attention at the same time. in the rapid switching back and forth of your attention, your energy level drops dangerously. And when it is extremely low, that is when the forces of negation rush in to trigger a sudden burst of anger or discouragement. And and I reflected on this and I said, yeah, I can see that happening in my world and then how easily it can happen to others, where there's times when I say, okay, I'm gonna start working, on a project. And then I get, a text message here, an emergency here, somebody is reaching out over here. And, it's almost more like there are fires to fight, and the day turns into a firefighter mode. And by the end of the day, I find that, again, like I mentioned, my energy is drained. And, you know, I feel a little bit maybe irritated that, I didn't get all that I need to get accomplished done. So here, in this paragraph, Jesus is mentioning that we need to be aware, or at least I need to be aware of those control points that are set up by the fallen ones to try to detract us from the productivity of the day or things that we have set out to do as a mission. There was a time when I would follow, the events that are going on in life, follow the news, almost get wrapped into it. And before you know it, I remember one of the things that Saint Germain said is where the consciousness is or where the thought is, that's where the energy goes. And we may not even know that, but it's something that is actually happening unconsciously. When that attention is divided and drawn into so many different directions, we tend to lose that focus, and we are pouring forth our energy into those discordant situations. He says something here which also was encouraging for me, which was, you need have no fear or distress that unceasing communion will disturb the efficiency of your task. I can truly tell you from experience that even when you are involved in difficult matters, if you carry your attention upward toward the Father and fear not the flow of his attention upon you, you can actually bathe in the disquieted energies of your world with the harmony of God. So again, it keeps coming back to that, conscious decision to, irrespective of what is going on chaotic in the world, to always carry the energy back to God and get that consolation and get that, harmony that returns as part of it. And I want to close finally on another paragraph that it says here, as a mother comforts a sobbing child, so God can and does quiet the restless energies that you seem unable to govern. When you keep your problems to yourself as though they could thus be hidden from his eye, often they are only intensified and your distress increases rather than lessens. So it helps to reinforce that desire of continually connecting with God, even in the face of challenges. Sometimes I would say, God, I know you know what's going on with me. I know you see what's going on with me, but I can still tell it to you. I can still let me still share it, even though I know you know. So it's really important to, and when I do that, I find that there's a sense of quietness that returns, whenever I share that. So it's something that I needed to share today. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
You too. God bless you.